Hey everybody, we're back.
Hi.
Hey, we are here with Mr. Keith Lee himself,
Yeah.
the extraordinaire.
This is Trevor Crosby. I'm JJ MagMod. We're awesome. We're Keith.
What's up, guys?
So, do you want to give everyone a lowdown of where you're from and your history and?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm based out actually of St. Louis, Missouri, in the Midwest. Originally from Montreal, Canada. Moved here about 13 years ago to work for actually where I'm at right now, the wonderful Logo Builder Workshop. I've actually been doing pretty much the same thing, more or less, moving into management and over the course of the 13 years, but which is great. You know, it's a great job, great company, but fueling the creative side of things comes with photography. So first started getting into photography by way of kind of being really passionate about cars and motorsports and so forth. So picking up a camera and taking pictures of my car, taking pictures of cars on track and so forth, kind of was that creative outlet for me, and I thought that was really, really cool. And then not too long after that, within 2 years of shooting, I started to pick up the urge to actually shoot portrait photography. So that was just really, really fun. And just like anything else with social media, it kind of started to snowball once you start posting pictures of your friends and family members and so forth. And people say, hey, you know, who took that picture? And you know, do you think they would shoot my wedding? Do you think they would shoot my family? Do you think they would shoot my senior pictures and so forth? So it kind of grew into that relatively quickly within a year or two. So I think actually within about 3 months, I figured out there was pretty much a market for it and something that I wanted to pursue. The original goal, to be honest, was just to pay for gear. I had just like anybody else, I guess, when you're into cameras and photography and the cars, it kind of translates into wanting more and more stuff. It gets addictive. So you know, having the latest and greatest and buying more lenses, buying more bodies, and so forth, it gets expensive. And unlike a passion for cars, where you know you're modifying cars and so forth, that doesn't pay for itself. You're doing it for yourself and you get self gratification. But if you're into photography and you can shoot other people and make some money out of it, it definitely can pay for the cost. So again, within a few months, where I figured out that there was definitely an interest from other people who liked and dig my work, which I still to this day are blown away with, that they're willing to hire me or pay for me to photograph and stand in front of my camera, which is really, really cool. I'm still humbled by it, but it paid for all my gear within relatively within a few months. So that's how I kind of got my start into portrait photography, and I think it definitely it was a huge benefit was social media. That's no doubt about it.
Yep, that's a huge thing. Friends of friends, word of mouth.
Yes.
Cool. So you got started with it with doing like car stuff, automotive photography, just kind of what you loved.
Yeah, just shooting first my own car, shooting friends' cars, and so forth. And I can't say I was very good at it, to be honest. You think you have a cool car, you have some wheels, and you have some tires and engines and so forth. And I had no idea of when to shoot, where to shoot. Just basically could be in the middle of the day, could be sunset, could be at night. Brought a tripod out and shot, and a lot of it just kind of like even with portrait photography is trial and error. So you figure out what kind of looks good and what doesn't, and try to focus on the things that did work out and stay away from the things that didn't, or try to work harder at the things that didn't. Yeah, it was definitely cool, and it'd be nice to actually get back into it. I actually got an inquiry the other day, just actually yesterday, about someone that was a groomsman at a wedding who wants to buy a gift for, I think, another friend or a boss or so forth, that has a car collection of Ferraris and Corvettes and so forth. And to me, that sounds interesting, combining what I know now, portrait photography and lessons learned along with the automotive stuff where I originally started from. So I'm kind of anxious to. I mean, I didn't use any kind of flash or any kind of off-camera flash when it was back in the day of using shooting car photography. So I think that would just be really, really cool. So if there's still a passion behind it, it's just, you know, shooting, for the most part, shooting my own car doesn't pay the bills and doesn't pay for my gear. It's just more of a luxury and a hobby.
Cool. Do you ever look back at some of those early pictures and be like, yeah, I've come a long way, or?
Definitely. Definitely come a long way. Just even from editing, you know, dude, from that perspective, you know, not knowing how to edit back then, and not that I'm a master at it now, but, you know, I think a lot of it's just developing when you're trying to learn photography. You're trying to figure out what you want to see in the camera, right? Like, and that's where experience comes in, and trying to paint that picture. Even when you know, back in the day, I used to draw. So when I was in elementary and high school, you know, at college, when I wasn't paying attention, I used to draw a lot. And you know, for the most part, you want to have a vision in your head. You want to have an idea of what things want to look like. And when I say draw, I mean draw like comic characters. You know, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, stuff like that. So you have a piece of paper, and you know that Batman needs to be here, and you want to have the Joker on this side over here. So you have to you know, plan out your space accordingly, right? And you have to have the right tools, the pencil and the pen and the erasers and so forth. How do you make that vision? How do you execute the vision out of your head and onto a piece of paper? Excuse me. There's a lot of similarities with photography, painting that picture versus having the vision and then executing it on camera. Excuse me.
So Keith, if you had to, you know, tell people who your favorite superhero actually is, what would you say?
Man, I think I've always been close to Spider-Man. Probably because you know, in the early years, that's what I used to read when I was younger, obviously. And then also one of my favorite comic book artists, Todd McFarlane. It's so detailed oriented. I don't know if you guys are into comic books or anything like that. This guy has grown into a mogul as far as toys and so forth as well, sports toys and comic characters and Walking Dead and so forth. But he is so detailed oriented, and I think that's a lot of times I gravitate towards the work that he's done, and you know, and I feel like a lot of my pictures, at least I try to convey that there's a lot of detail going on in there. But yeah, hands down, Spider-Man. I don't think they've done a great job from a Hollywood perspective. Hopefully now that kind of it's fallen under the Marvel and Disney chain, that'll do a lot better job with that franchise.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm hoping for. Hopefully this next Avengers movie.
Yeah, we'll include him, yeah.
With Captain America. Captain America 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite superheroes, you know. Cool. So let's talk about photography a little bit. So you're currently doing mostly portrait and wedding photography now?
Yeah, majority of the stuff is definitely weddings, then comes engagements, then boudoir, sprinkle in a couple of senior sessions, and maybe an occasional newborn or a commercial shoot. You know, when I first started, I was all over the place. I shot anything. I think if people told me to shoot their dog, I would do it. And I think it was this experience, right? It was just kind of like, okay, well, I just want to see how this works out. Just figure out if I liked it or not. And I shot a ton of families when I first started out, which was the gateway into weddings, right? You post family pictures. There's always someone that knows somebody that's getting married. But I just found that I just didn't have time for it after, you know, when weddings started to come up and engagements and everything else, then something had to go. So I had to let go of families. And once in a while I still get asked, and occasionally I might still do it if it's for, you know, a close friend and whatnot, but I definitely focus on the wedding aspect as part of photography. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of candidates, a lot of documentary, just a lot of cool things that are going on with that area, arena in photography. So just, yeah, focus on those areas.
So did you get into wedding photography? Was to kind of pay for the gear, just kind of the next step where it's like, okay, this is a logical move to make, or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I I think most people will tell you that's the moneymaker, right? There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of time invested in it, there's a lot of client interaction, but that is the big paycheck is doing weddings. But again, it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of stress. So, you know, you can bust your ass doing, I don't know, whatever, 5 or 10 family sessions, you know, back in the day when I used to charge, or just do one wedding. And that was kind of my mindset. And the same thing too, you know, I would shoot anybody from, you know, as anybody that was interested in my photography from a wedding perspective. If you wanted to shoot me, I'd have no problems. Now I'm a lot more selective in the sense that I feel like that my blog and my work really focuses on a certain particular clientele that wants my photography. So if you want somebody that wants traditional photography, are more than likely are not going to come to me. Excuse me. And the reality is, when I meet with them, and if that's something they're looking for, I have no qualms telling them that you're better off getting somebody else and not spending your hard-earned money on me. So yeah, definitely wedding photography is the area to be in if you want to pay someone for that. Excuse me.
Yeah, a consistent paycheck. It's always going to be weddings.
Excuse me.
I really love what you just said there. Actually, you actually tell clients, yeah, if you don't like this or whatever, I definitely recommend you go with someone else and spend your hard-earned money somewhere else. Because actually, that's something I tell my clients personally. I just really appreciate that, so I thought I'd point that out. But do you want to touch on that a little bit more, where you actually have a little more freedom to say no than a lot of pro wedding photographers do, where they don't, because you have a full-time job. So
yeah, definitely, it's something I tell my clients or potential clients that, you know, the day job is awesome. You know, it's something that you know, I do 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and or 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 if my boss is going to watch this eventually. But doing photography is a choice. It's not driven by financial reasons, and it's because I want to be here. It's because I want to photograph your wedding, and I want to do an awesome job at it. So, you know, I don't take the easy route out. I always tell clients too, you know, like, I could easily just take a picture of your ring on your hand, or take a picture of your rings just sitting on a plate, or take a picture of a group shot, just get everyone to huddle up and just stand and look at me, and guys cover your crotch, and girls hold your flowers in front of you, and knock that out, and it takes me 2 seconds, and I can spend the rest of the time on Facebook on my phone and be really lazy about it, or just walk up to a cake and take a picture of that. But the reality is, I make a choice to be, you know, a conscious choice to be away from my family, to give up my weekends to shoot your wedding. So I want to make sure it's the right fit. You know, I want to make sure that that you're going to love the images, and you're not settling, and I'm not just settling. So you know, that's probably maybe a mistake I've done in the past, where, again, starting out not knowing any better and trying to figure out who my clientele is and who are the people that really want that are going to really appreciate the stuff that I do. You know, those are lessons learned. And you know, again, I think my blog and my work really do a great job of, when they see it, there's something that's the emotion that's conveyed and it's captured, and that it's invoked by the client, and that's why they want to meet with me and learn a little bit more about me and my work and what makes it tick, and the rhyme behind the reason, you know, and why they might want to hire me. So that's a lot of times I don't even have that conversation. It's already been filtered out. Once in a while, I'd say one every maybe 15 meetings or 10, 15 meetings, you know, I'll just have to double check with them and say, hey, you know, just an FYI, you know, this is what I focus on. Sure, I might take some traditional stuff, but that's not really why people hire me. You're going to hire me because you want a unique and creative experience in images and moments being captured. But it's definitely a luxury that I have, because I have that, you know, the day job. I'm not driven for financial reasons, where I do feel like it's an advantage where I have photography friends who will have to take about everything, or do a ton of weddings, or, again, just have to take any kind of client because they have to pay the bills and you know, have steaks in the fridge and so forth. So you know, I definitely don't take it for granted, though, and If I choose to do 35 weddings a year, it's my choice. If I choose to do 10 weddings a year, that's my choice too as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you say that that's kind of giving you a lot of success to, or a lot of creativity, I guess, a lot more freedom in that sense, because you have that option and you're, I lost my train of thought.
No, I know what you're asking, and I think part of it is yes, but I would be lying if I didn't say that. I feel like I always have to make sure I get the traditional stuff, even though my clients, the bride and groom, that are going to appreciate, those pieces, those images that I would consider kind of more creative, artistic images, you still have to keep in mind of the parents. So I feel like that I'm trying to have my hands in everything in the sense that I want to make sure I get a certain percentage of creative images filled that day or taken, and then also make sure I capture some traditional stuff. It's been happened before, not that not that I've ever had a client complain that I can think about anyway, or that I can remember, but a client will ask, hey, do you have a picture of us just standing there with us looking at the camera, with full body? And I'm like, man, I don't think I actually did. I have this cool picture with this cool lighting, and you guys look really, really cool, and this is in the background, in the foreground, and this is how it's uniquely captured. But something just really, really traditional. And again, it's not something they never complain about, but it made me think about it, and I make sure to capture that because, again, that's what grandma wants to see, and maybe
exactly. Every grandma wants a traditional portrait of the bride.
Something they can hang on their fridge. They're not going to want the silhouette. They're not going to want the big open wide pictures where the subjects are super small and the background's way big. They'll appreciate it, I think, but they're not going to hang that on their fridge. They're not going to frame that up on their mantle or anything like that. So I make sure to capture that each time. And does that take away from maybe doing another creative image or setting up another creative image? Definitely, but I think it's just as important though to capture. So that's always in the back of my head, to be honest, Trevor. That I want to make sure I get that rather than just getting 5 creative shots. I know I have to get at least one solid staple shot, and then creativity comes after that. Creativity is actually more of a luxury, to be honest. So I will never, for example, that group shot, if I take a group shot, I want to make sure that I see everybody's full body, their faces, smiling, looking at the camera. Then I'll do something creative with maybe a slow shutter, or maybe they're in the background instead of in the foreground and so forth. This kind of getting something different, so they're not the focus of that, or doing something just really, really outlandish and fun. So those staple shots need to happen first, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's cool. Some of your work that really sticks out in my mind are your ring shots, your detail shots. There's always like some sort of texture, some sort of creative lighting in them, and they're just amazing, along with all your work. But your detail shots are stellar. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Like, what's your process in? Okay, what do you look for? Because you're making most of that light, correct? You're designing light.
Yeah, I think just like I try to not replicate anything that I do. There could be definitely common themes, and this goes without ring shots. This goes with everything, right? So try to mix things up from even though if I shot at the venue, the same venue multiple times, I want to do something different. I just posted a picture actually of a staircase of a hotel I've been probably 3 or 4 times, and I try to photograph that each time a little bit differently. And same thing goes with ring shots. Unless a client specifically requests, I won't do the same type of ring shot twice, unless I think there's room to grow in. Like if I executed and I thought, hey, that was 80% executed, 80% done, where I could have executed another 20% better, then I might go back and revisit it and try to finish off that and make it 100%. But for the most part, if I done that, then great. The one I just posted on Instagram, actually, I don't know if you guys saw it, but that's the second time I've actually, technically it's the third time I've used salt. So, and reasoning to take pictures like ring shots with things like salt or plates or maybe fire or ice or champagne or water, these are all common themes, right? These are things that are going to be at a reception for the most part. Maybe fire, maybe not so much, but maybe like if it's a candle. But what common tools do I have, right? Like I'm not always going to have something at my disposal to bring with me, or I'm going to remember to bring with me, unless the couple has something that they want to incorporate in the ring shot, which sometimes they do. I've had a couple who wanted, I think, like a bullet, you know, because the groom was a cop, to incorporate in the ring shot. But for the most part, I'm just using what I have at my disposal. And how do I use that differently in creative? So when I go back to the salt shot, the first time I tried doing it, failed miserably. I don't know why it didn't come out. I had in my head that it would be really, really cool, kind of like rain or snow, and it didn't work out. I ended up doing something different, and I could have just said, okay, well, I did that, done that, didn't work out, keep on moving on. But no, I still had in my mind that I wanted to try it again. About a year afterwards, I did it again, and it did actually work out. So I thought it worked out, and it looked really, really great. This time around, this past weekend, I said, well, let me try doing something else. Let me try dragging the shutter and you know, popping the salt on top of it. And that made it look like fireworks instead, where it's bouncing off the rings and so forth. So it's about, you know, experimenting. It's about, you know, finding something, you know, different and cool. But giving that, you know, so that ring shot I won't do for anybody else again. That's that couples that I shot this past weekend, and then I'll move on from there and try something different. It could be with salt again, maybe, maybe not. But I just want to try to do it differently each time. So it's about experimenting, and you know, a lot of these times, whenever I have an idea about doing a shot that includes salt, or one of my friends had posted on Instagram, why don't you try pepper next time, or something like that? Sure, that's another tool that's at my disposal. Well, I'll jot it down on, you know, using Evernote, like, you know, as far as an app goes, on my phone or on my iPad or on my computer. That way, by the time I have to do a ring shot, I pull up my phone and say, okay, what did I always want to try? Salt. Oh yeah, I want to drag the shutter on that. Let me give it a try. It's just a collection of ideas, and I have, like, you know, a good page of just actually a category called ring shots, where I just want to try these things out, and I cross it off the list once I've done it and moved on to something else. So yeah, and it's not just ring shots. I have stuff for rain shots, for wedding parties, for couples, engagement sessions, babies, and all this other stuff.
Do you ever try those beforehand and like by yourself, and then do like a screenshot or something you save in Evernote, or is it just the idea?
You know, I thought about that. You know, if I was a much more prepared person, I would try it in advance, and, you know, take my ring, take Allie's ring, my wife's ring, and you know, give it a shot and test it out, so I'm prepared. But no, you know, I don't, and I totally should. I think part of that has to do with, you know, having a day job and also with a baby and so forth. But you know, I think the same time, I think it's just kind of cool to discover that at a wedding too. You know, it's part of that creative process where, hey, this would be really cool, and a lot of times, you know, it's just you're improvising at that point. You know, you're doing with what you have. You might set up this certain scenario where you need set up a ring shot where you need a specific amount of light that needs to be natural light, and then you get to the reception and you don't have that amount of light, or maybe it's a different part of the day, or they don't have a certain kind of ingredients or certain kind of setup where you can have them standing up or so forth, like as far as the rings go, and you just got to improvise. So I think you can probably practice for the most part, but there's nothing like the real thing when it actually happens. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Speaking of your family a little bit, like how do you balance, like, do you limit the amount of weddings you shoot? I know you kind of spoke about that a little earlier, but like per year, or like how do you balance family life and your professional career, since you do work full time and you do photography almost full time? So
yeah, actually, I would say photography is full time. It's definitely less the last couple of years with our son Beckett. And that's, again, a conscious choice. You know, the most amount of weddings I did was back in 2013 to 35. And then last year was about, I think it was around 25. This year I'm trending to be probably around 22 or so. And again, these are all choices. So how do I balance it out? It's definitely it's a struggle. It's a challenge constantly. I don't think we've got it 100% figured out. I think we're doing the best job we can, in the sense that, you know, the day job is 9 to 6 or so. Get home, spend time with my son, and Allie, and then put him to bed about 8 or 9. Hopefully, if he goes to bed, and you're going to find all this out, Trevor, yourself, but you're get to bed maybe about, like last night, I didn't get to get on the computer about until 11, and then start editing and so forth, and then stay up until 1, and then start all over again the next day. And then on Saturdays, shooting a wedding. On Sundays, I'm usually shooting an engagement session. So it's a constant cycle. And then on the weddings, there's been days where we don't get to even see him. We wake up in the morning, the nanny comes, he's still in his crib. We leave. When we come back, he's already in bed, in his crib, back in bed, so we don't even see him. Those are the days that we definitely are bummed out about and are not looking forward to, because we don't see him all day, And but we're trying to balance that out. So one thing that we've changed, or I've changed this year, was definitely taking a weekend off once a month. No photography, and that's something we adopted actually from Tony and Amy Hoffer. That's something, a rule, hard set rule that they have. So it's just obviously a lot harder since we don't work. We don't do shoots on the weekdays. For the most part, we might do the occasional one here and there, so we don't have as much time to shoot. It's limited to the occasional weekday and Saturdays and Sundays. So we take the weekends off, and we make sure to spend that with, as far as family time goes. And we take off holidays too. We used to, back in the day, again, not only would I shoot anything and everything, but I'd also shoot any time. That would give up my birthdays, give up anniversaries, give up holidays, shoot on the 4th of July. These days I'm a lot more strict about it and say, I'm sorry, I'd love to shoot your wedding, but it's 4th of July, and there's a beer with my name on it, and I need to be at a pool. So I think those are the times that I'll remember, rather than remembering the hot and sweaty wedding that I did.
Yeah, I think that's important. You need to have a balance.
Yeah, still trying to figure it out, though. Still trying to figure it out, and I feel like that's even up to this day. Allie and I were just talking about how do we, because as kids get older, and again, any parent will attest to this, is that they're only going to require more attention, not less. So we're trying to balance that out, trying to figure things out.
Cool. Are you guys thinking about growing your family, or is that something that you take into consideration with all the work that you guys are doing right now?
Both are a yes, meaning, yeah, I think it's always, it's an open question. It would be nice to give Beckett a brother or sister, but we want to be smart about it. I think most parents that have multiple kids will tell you that 1 was a breeze, and then 2 just changed things. 3 was just no different, they'll say, and so forth. But I think we're trying to, again, I think we're probably going to wait a little bit longer and wait till Beckett gets a little bit older, where he's not so much of a handful. But yeah, definitely comes into play as far as photography goes. How much do we want to focus on photography and focus on family life and so forth?
Cool.
Cool. Well, you want to do some quick fire questions?
Go for it. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
What's your favorite piece of gear in your bag?
Are we excluding camera bodies and so forth and lenses?
Anything in there? Anything counts.
Well, I think a lot of people will see that I use a lot of tilt shift. My 45 millimeter. I don't use my 24 as much. I don't know. I just love to look at it at times. It definitely has weaknesses. So I'll use my Canon TSE 45 tilt shift. But in my bag, I'll always carry a flash too as well. You never know when you need to balance light out or to add a little bit of extra pop in the image. So I'm always carrying light, and that's. Here's another thing, a point to make across is that I hate carrying gear, by the way. If it's not small and light and compact, I just won't carry it. I know there's a lot of people that walk around with soft boxes and light stands and so forth when they shoot engagement sessions and weddings and so forth. I hate it. I don't want to do it. I just want it to be, if I can carry 2 flashes, some grids, and I'm seriously not trying to plug you guys, but the MagMod Sphere I feel like is my softbox for me. So that is like this awesome. I can just throw it and it crumples in. That's one thing I'll admit. that I had the Gary Fong, as they call Fong Dong, you know, the Gary whatever they call it. I only noticed the Fong Dong, actually, to be honest, but I used to have one, and I hate carrying it because it wouldn't fit in my bag properly. It wouldn't fit in my large bag or small bag properly. It took a lot of space, and it was just like having a tough piece of Tupperware in my freaking camera bag, which didn't conform to anything.
So what you're saying is you like small, compact stuff and tilt shifts.
I'm just amazed at how much stuff I can carry in my bag more and more. I have a little mini studio going on, so there's no excuses. I just carry everything. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer to some of my favorite gear that I like to sport around.
Okay, Keith, if you could photograph a historical person throughout human history, who would you choose and why? Go.
I don't know if there would be this one person. I just always thought it would be really cool to photograph, like race car drivers. Again, going back to more motorsports roots. I love Formula One, love IndyCar. I think there's like some interesting stories to be told there, from successes to losses, and the technology that comes with racing too as well. It's a lot of hard lines, leading lines, shadows, sunny conditions, raining conditions. It'd just be really cool to just shadow a team, you know, a race team over the course of a year, and just document those portraits, and adding that artificial lighting too as well, off-camera lighting. I think that would be really, really cool. So there's no specific one person or anything like that. I think it would be cool to maybe photograph a driver back in the 80s or 90s or even 60s or 70s and so forth. But you know, even now to this era would just be really, really cool.
Maybe a future project for you.
Well, I follow some of these IndyCar drivers. I think Formula One's more the echelon of motorsports, so a little harder to reach. But I'll plug a bug in some of these drivers' ears because I follow them on Instagram, and I'll say, hey, you know, if you're ever looking for a photographer for that wedding that's coming up, you know, I'd probably swap out services just for the experience. I think this would be really, really cool to get some unique images and cross that line on the bucket list.
Sweet. What's your dream car?
Good question.
Oh, geez. Since I'm a Honda fanatic, I'd probably have to be an Acura NSX. Yeah, a white one too. I think I would probably give up. So like we're bad at getting rid of cars. Between Ali and I, we have 5 cars. 3 of them are kind of sport coupes and sports cars. 2 of them are family vehicles. I'd probably be willing to give up 2 of my vehicles to get just an Acura NSX.
Very cool. All right, so I'm not sure if we talked about this yet. Keith, you are a black belt, and you have done martial arts for a good portion of your life. Are you still doing that? Has it changed your life in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the absolutely was that it's changed my life, definitely. I used to do it back in college, actually, and it was a great, it was a great time of my life, and so that answers that second part of the questions. I don't do it anymore, but I still take a piece of it with me each time when you're interacting with people, the way you approach a situation and so forth. Style that I learned and also taught. I was a teacher for a little bit too. It's very traditional, so it's you're not practicing with music in the background. There's a lot of, you're not wearing these American flag gis or anything like that. It's very, very traditional, and in that sense, it's very strict. There's a lot of discipline that goes with it. There's a lot of respect that goes with it. But like photography,
Uh-oh.
You there?
I'm in it 100%. So I did karate for 3-4 years, 100%. I lived and breathed it. I practiced sometimes twice a day, 5 days a week, and worked hard for my first degree black belt, second and third degree black belt as well. And then after moving on from that, I was really passionate about cars too. And right now it's about photography. So it'd be, again, we talked a little bit about photographing cars and going back to doing that because it combines 2 passions. It'd be cool to also photograph probably martial arts too as well.
Very cool. Do you think some of that discipline that you learned in martial arts, do you think that that's kind of carried over into your business ethic?
I think so. I mean, again, it just has to do with interacting with people. There's a lot of respect that goes towards your when I say seniors, people that are either your in karate, they're either your peers from a rank level to people that are higher than you, and little things like an example would be you would never walk in front of a senior. You'd always walk behind them. So I feel like a good example would probably be on a wedding day, you'd probably walk behind a father of the bride or anything like that. It's marked as disrespectful for walking in front of someone that's higher ranked than you. Basically looking for an axe kicking if you do that. But yeah, that definitely translates. There's a lot of discipline, a lot of structure that goes to karate, and that translates a lot to photography. And another example would probably be like there's two speeds in karate, at least the style that I learned. It was either stop or run. And anyone that's worked with me or seen me on a wedding day, I'm either stop or running around, busting my butt off to get the stuff that I need.
Cool.
Cool. Did you let everyone know where they can find your work? And it's KeithLeeStudios.com. Is that correct?
Yeah. So my blog is KeithLeeStudios.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Keith Lee Studios, Instagram, Keith Lee Studios as well. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more risque from our boudoir work, we separated that division out. So on Facebook, we also have a division that looks for Keith Lee Studios Uncovered, and the same thing with Instagram, Keith Lee Studios Uncovered as well. Boudoir is just it's a passion of ours from a photography perspective. We just love the way different ways of capturing our subjects in cool and different ways. I think just like wedding photography, boudoir photography can be very traditional and very glamour-like, which is totally fine. It's just a different style. We like to photograph things differently, kind of push the limits at times, and just keep the viewer really engaged. And it's just an interesting combo is that Ali shoots just as well as I do, and we just she takes it from a woman's perspective, and I take it from a man's perspective. So you have a great combination of the two. So it's really interesting.
That's awesome. You're always doing that together?
Yes. I don't think we've ever done a shoot not together in the goodness, probably, I don't know how many sessions, well over 50 sessions we've done together. It's always been together. And she'll do the makeup. She'll start off doing, she works actually harder than I do on these shoots. She'll do the makeup and hair, and then I'll shoot them, but she's shooting too. So if you think about it, she never gets any breaks. She's constantly either doing makeup, hair, or shooting. And then she's helping out with posing and so forth and direction. Which again, I think it's just something that's unique, a unique perspective to have a woman's perspective and approach on things.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool. Well, I think
we're ready for the giveaway. Is that what we're doing?
I think so.
Yeah. Do we have some questions? We can give some stuff away too.
So I think the way we should handle this is if they leave a comment below, they're registered to win this. Do you want to show what you got to give away here?
The fine folks at Vision Art have given me a bunch of cards to give out, so I'll give away 3. Yeah, they're really awesome partners. If anyone hasn't worked with Vision Art before and creating a fine art album, definitely should. The only thing better than their products is their customer service. Really, just really awesome people to work with. So, yeah, put your comment below or question, and we'll draw from that, and we'll get your information. We can send you a $50 gift card if we draw your name.
Sweet.
Awesome.
So cool. Well, thanks, Keith, for joining us. And sorry for the technical difficulties at the very beginning there.
No problem, guys.
But yeah, we
thank you for
taking your time out from your work day and whatnot. So.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Much appreciated. Yeah, I love the stuff that you guys are doing, and it's definitely helped add to adding your gear into my gear definitely helps execute the vision that's in my head sometimes. So that's awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Take care.
Yeah. See you later.